She looked up to me and announced you. Oh, they're sticking. Are we out of seats? Behind us? Yeah.
I'm going to introduce you.
Dixie.
You got thrown out. You got thrown
Sit
out.
right behind us now. Do you know Kathy's husband? Dixie has Kathy's husband, Tal. Tal. He gave up his seat.
Good afternoon, everyone.
This is Dixie.
It's 3 o'clock on Monday, February 11th, 2019, and I call our meeting together of the City of Palm Springs Human Rights Commission. Who we have read the mission statement for us today? Commissioner Morgan.
The mission of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and to improve human relations through education and community awareness.
Thank you. And roll call?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Andrade?
Present.
Commissioner Chandrasena?
Present.
Vice Chair Chappelle?
Here.
Chair DeHarte?
Present.
Commissioner Gross?
Here.
Commissioner Micio?
Here.
Commissioner Morgan?
Present.
Commissioner Randolph?
Present.
Thank you all. We have a quorum present.
All right, thank you. And no public comment cards have been submitted, so we can go through the public comment section of our meeting, and we will go right into our flow is a little different than a normal meeting, and each year we get together and we get to celebrate members in our community with our Community Service Awards, and that's what we're gathered here to do today. So welcome. Today's meeting is a wonderful opportunity for the human rights community and all of our diversity to come together and understand the values that drive the work that we all do during the year. Please make welcome our Mayor Moon, Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Coors, Council Members Christy Holstedge, and Council Member Lisa Middleton that are with us today. Also with us is a representative from Supervisor Manny Perez office, Greg Rodriguez, who brought with him certificates that are being presented on behalf of the supervisor to all the honorees. And this morning we recognize our entertainment that is being provided by Ted Fox, and with him on guitar, Roger Best. It's wonderful to have all of you with us this morning, so thank you for being with us. Our commissioners that have introduced themselves today, Vice Chair Chappelle, Chandrasena, Randolph, Morgan, Gross, and two new commissioners that joined this year, Commissioner Andrade and Micio. We welcome our staff colleagues, Dale Cook and Andy Rodriguez, and Jay Varada, who is with us, that help us throughout the year as we perform our duties on the commission. And I am Ron DeHart, the chair of the commission. To start our program, we have a welcome from the Mayor of Palm Springs, Mayor Moon. Thank you.
Well, it's so wonderful to see Ron is so tall. It's wonderful to see such a full house here today. Usually we only see a crowd like this if it's a council meeting with cannabis or vacation rentals on the agenda. So it's great to see so many people coming out to celebrate something really positive and uplifting and so important to our communities. And when I look out in this audience, I recognize like 4/5 of the people out there, and so many of you are so involved in the community, not on just these issues you're here for today, but on so many things of this in the city that are so important to all of our residents in the field of diversity and equality and making our city a place like no place else, particularly to live. Not only in the audience do we see such an incredible group of diverse and generous and giving and activist people involved in our community, but right here behind me too on the dais, we have such a great commission led by Rhonda Hart, who just, there's not enough words to describe all the things he does for our city right now. So with that, I'd like to say welcome to all of you and thank you so much for coming out to this. This is my 4th year up here welcoming people to this, and I look forward to next year when I can sit out there with you and enjoy it. So thank you very much.
And now we've got a short video that will give you an introduction about what the commission has done over the last 26 years.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. If I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. If I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Well, I've got a hammer, and I've got a bell, and I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's the song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. It's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Roger. Today's all about community. We celebrate our contributions and achievements with the City of Palm Springs Human Rights Commission by presenting the Community Service Awards. The city, our community, organizations, and every individual play a critical role in ensuring the fundamental rights are realized for all residents. Since the commission was established 26 years ago, with a mandate to monitor the city's performance in meeting its human rights obligations, our role then is the same as it is now: respect for the rights and dignity of everyone in Palm Springs, and to work with others to help build communities that are fair and inclusive. This is the backbone of our work. Through the years, when people face discrimination, harassment, or human rights breaches, the Commission has been there to provide information, to mediate complaints, and to assist with many positive changes that have taken place in the city. Those changes have been positive for over the last 26 years, but in today's political climate, we see that real challenge remains ahead. Human rights is not ancient history. It is about today's reality of suffering and unjust actions. We seek constructive, respectful conversation to try and bridge these differences. And it's not only the government, the private sector, it's all of us. We all have a role to account for compliance with human rights laws and the basic principles that prohibit discrimination on the grounds of age, sex, disability, and race. At all times, our vision must remain focused. Working together, we can make human rights a reality for everyone, everywhere, every day. The Commission has been engaged in human rights work from its very beginning. In 1993, in October that year, the Human Rights Commission led discussions on racial tensions in the community. We facilitated communication between Sunline and the disability community, and they held public forums on the media and discrimination. Early areas of focus for the Commission included domestic abuse, hate crimes, protection of senior citizens, and access to housing for all. In 1999, the Commission was instrumental in working with the City Council to adopt the Declaration of Policy for the Protection of Human Dignity and Prevention of Hate Crimes. The next year, the Domestic Partner Ordinance was presented to Council and approved on January 5, 2000. Culminating the efforts of the Human Rights Commission to address homeless issues in the city, on May 3, 2000, the Council adopted a policy on addressing the issues of poverty and homeless. The Commission has provided community education and training forums where numerous topics have been addressed, including homelessness, mental illness, elder abuse, supporting caregivers, protecting people who've been domestically abused, discussing the DREAM Act, and discussing women's participation in city government. The Commission has long responded to important issues such as 9/11 and the tragedy of increased substance abuse among young people. In 2002, the Commission was the first city commission to establish a position for youth representatives to serve, and that tradition continues today. After laws passed in 2000 and 2001 by the state of California that mandated school districts provide safe environments for all students, the Commission was the one that led the effort to provide trainings to Palm Springs High School so those students could establish the very first gay-straight alliance on campus. The Commission was also actively engaged in Hate-Free Millennium Ramon Academy mural project, which was dedicated in December of 2002. Ongoing opportunities to educate have included presentations on religious intolerance, women's issues, the Patriot Act, civil liberties, hate crimes, gay veterans, court-appointed special advocates, ageism, cultural proliferancy, human trafficking, gender-neutral bathrooms, transgender rights, racism in our community, and addressing issues for persons with disabilities. Reaching others by hosting forums in recent years has included discussions on immigration, First Amendment freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, and Human Rights Month, in addition to addressing issues important to senior citizens. In 2017, the Homelessness Subcommittee report was submitted to City Council by then Commissioner Holstage. And the report reviewed one of the most referenced concerns over the Commission's previous 25 years, that of the homeless population in Palm Springs. So where does the Commission go today? This dedicated Commission will continue to focus on strength and go from strength to strength. Our work on the rights of senior and dependent adults was a priority in 2018, along with reaching out to the community and getting their feedback on human rights issues that were important to citizens in the community. This work will be summarized in a report to City Council in the next 60 days. The Community Service Awards have a rich history of inspirational and prestigious winners. Like our group today, that tradition continues. The 2019 Human Rights Community Service Awards are presented to some extraordinary individuals and businesses. These are folks who have made outstanding contributions in our community. They shine a light on injustice, and they give a voice to those who are rarely heard. They work to stop racism and counter age discrimination. They advocate for older people, and they promote fair and respectful treatment for women. If you can say nothing or do nothing, nothing changes. The honorees are not say-nothing kind of people. They are the hearts of our community. I invite our commissioners and City Council liaisons, Mayor Pro Tem Coors and Councilmember Holstage, to announce the honorees, and to start the presentation, we invite Commissioner Randolph to the podium.
I'm almost as tall as Ron. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today as we do our Community Service Awards. It's one of my favorite things that the Human Rights Commission does every year. And today it's my pleasure to tell you about a very generous business, the V Hotel, where the curve happens at the south end of Palm Springs. Last July, when the Cranston and the Ribbon fire started, Sherry Gallagher, who's the sales manager at the V Hotel, thought, oh my goodness, I have to do something. This is horrendous. So she opened up the hotel to firefighters and evacuees, along with their pets, to her hotel. They ended up hosting 200 firefighters while they battled the 12,300-acre fire, as you may remember. And the hotel provided the evacuees a place to call home, and the firefighters a place to get away when they were on 24 on, 24 off work days. And Sherry was not alone. Her staff, her entire staff, some of who were off for the summer, it was July after all, they all came back and helped out. And they quickly coordinated a community effort to get such items as toiletries, food, clothing. And the donation started by the V Hotel, generated considerable community participation and support at large. This is one of the reasons why I love Palm Springs. I came from San Francisco. I don't think they could organize that quickly. And this demonstration and caring for others and the selfless act of engaging community members shows the socially minded commitment that the V Hotel Palm Springs has. It's a business doing good for others. Please welcome Sherry Gallagher, sales manager for the V Hotel Palm Springs, to accept our 2019 Community Service Award.
And next, we've got Commissioner Morgan, who will present the next award.
First, I want to say, we've done a lot of outreach with the Human Rights Commission, and I'm really impressed with the turnout today. So it means a lot to not just us, but all to the recipients that are here today. Your support of all these people is just tremendous and overwhelming, so thank you very much. So anybody know Karl Lagerfeld? Anybody? Who is he? Fashion designer. No, we're not going to talk about fashion. Karl Lagerfeld, designer for Chanel and Fendi, et cetera, but his mom, believe it or not, had a very good outlook on religion. She said, "There is one God for everyone, and religions are shops." I mean, really, if you think about it, right, there's a lot of similarities, but it's actually an interesting thought for religion. So, when I was a little boy, I wasn't raised with religion or spirituality, but when I was probably about 4 years old, I was just a little kid. And my dad, he was very gruff, very butch, very masculine. That's where I got it from. Are they laughing at me? So anyway, he was a pipe fitter on nuclear submarines at Maryland Naval Shipyard for 38 years. And I remember, it was just like yesterday, he called me over, he said, "David, come here." And I go walking over, and I was all excited, just this young little 4-year-old. And I remember he bent over, and he whispered in my ear. And he said, "If anyone ever asks you, tell them you're Protestant." I honestly didn't know what Protestant was. I mean, what 4-year-old knows the religions of the world? But it wasn't until much later in my life that I discovered my own spirituality and I became religious myself. And I've always heard throughout my whole life people talking about their spiritual leader, someone that they actually are guided by, someone they respect and love. And I'm very lucky that I have my own individual spiritual leader. And so, I've heard so much in the last few years people talking about Rev Kev. And so I get that. I understand that. And so I always say, put yourself in someone else's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from. If you don't have that spiritual leader, try to understand the love and the support and the emotion that these people have for their spiritual leader. So, sorry. So what do people say about Rev Kev? You can go online, you can look at stuff, you can ask friends, but I thought I'd do an unscientific survey. And I love doing unscientific surveys. So I called people, I texted people, I Facebook messaged. The last 2 weeks, I was just trying to get as much feedback as possible. And what's interesting is my grandma always used to say, you can put 10 people in a room, and you say one sentence, and they'll all take it a different way. But there were some very interesting, consistent themes when asking people what they thought about Rev Kev. So I'll just read a few of these. Warmth, open-hearted, free hugs. He did try to shake my hand today. I said, no, free hug. Social justice, passion, kick-ass, caring, thoughtful, and fighter for us. Now, I know I said one word, but of course some people said 2 or 3 words. But the number one response was warmth. Almost 40 people said warmth. And if you really want to get to know somebody, you can talk to people about what they feel about them. And I thought it was very poignant to actually hear people talk about Rev Kev in a very special way. So, we're not here again to talk about religion or spirituality as much as we're here to talk about a good man, someone with a good heart, someone with a good soul. Reverend Kevin A. Johnson, Rev Kev as he's known to in the community, is an outspoken advocate for those who are suffering and lonely in our society. He co-founded Bloom in the Desert Ministry 16 years ago in order to create an LGBTQ-friendly prayer and public service community in Palm Springs. He's engaged in many community events and advocates for those who experience spiritual abuse, religious discrimination related to gender identity, sexual orientation, ethnic heritage, and bullying. Today, we recognize Reverend Kevin A. Johnson for his community stewardship, leadership, and commitment to justice and inclusion with a 2019 Community Service Award. It's with my absolute pleasure to introduce Rev Kev.
I'm a preacher, you know, and they said we could talk. But only for 2 minutes. So thank you, everyone, for this significant honor. It's wonderful to share this moment with my husband, plus so many friends, our family, and persons that I admire. Serendipity is at work today, as I am pleased to share the limelight today with, as you'll see in the program, Tony Marchese, and who hails from Chicago like my husband and I do. Tony and I crossed paths a few times in Chicago in various locations, and his Brazilian restaurant, Rumba, was where my hubby Mike and I had our first dinner date. And I think a Polaroid photo of our table still exists somewhere. Serendipity also brings joy that a beloved family member of mine is here while visiting Palm Springs for the very first time. The spirit of Christian social justice steadily guides me to serve the honor of human rights. It's part of me forever. Plus, I am glad to serve now as co-founding pastor of Bloom in the Desert Ministries United Church of Christ, Palm Springs' own congregation, being the first UCC church founded here in Palm Springs 16 years ago. In that congregation, human rights are honored with prayer and service. So thank you all for blessing and supporting me in living these lovely and honorable ideals. Thank you. And now we have Commissioner Andrade. And before she starts, if I could just remind the honorees that please stick around. When we're done at the end, we'll do a group photo of all the honorees with the City Council, okay?
Good afternoon. I'm thinking it, so I might as well say it. That's a hard act to follow. But it is my definite privilege to introduce you to our next recipient. I want to share with you that I really just met her personally about a half an hour ago, but I certainly do know her history, and I know the things that she has done in this community, and that made me so grateful to be chosen to do this introduction. An active volunteer, advocate, and organizer, Kate Concannon Castle is recognized for raising the visibility of health and safety, workplace, family, and women's issues in our community. She has passionately created and participated in events that prepare and empower women to take on greater roles as leaders in social change, as well as encouraging a stronger female representation in city government and service organizations. Kate is active in the Human Rights Campaign Steering Committee and the Palm Springs Women's Club, where she's involved in raising scholarship funds and counseling young women on their applications for those scholarships. In addition, Kate is a strong sustainability advocate and was the grassroots driving force behind the adoption of the Palm Springs Shopping Bag Ordinance. Today, a recipient of the 2019 Community Service Award in recognition of her volunteerism and commitment to inspiring and elevating women in our community, please welcome Kate Concannon Castle.
I didn't write anything because I wanted to speak from my heart. You know, when you volunteer, you do it not for recognition. You do it because there's something within you that drives you to make the world a better place. And I know, looking out in this room, and all the members of the council and the members of the commission, we all seem to wake up with that certain something that says, what can I do to make this world a better place? What can I do for gender equality? What can I do to help the homeless? What can I do to help children go to school and get the education that they deserve and are capable of doing, but our society often overlooks them? So, being a part of this community, I've been given a platform to reach out to people and to remind them just how special they are. How special each and every one of you are. And if you ever forget that, I want you to take this moment to remember my face and my tears, because I'm looking at you and I'm honored to be with you all. Thank you for recognizing my heart.
And for the next award, we have Commissioner Michio.
You know, thanks, Kate, for leaving it down here, because I was going to grab it off of this anyway. I have the pleasure of introducing Tony Marchese, that the Reverend just referenced. Fellow Italian, also from Chicago. Tony moved here in 2005, probably like I did, to escape those brutal -40 wind chill winters. Tony is a local restaurateur with a huge heart, with quite the list of accomplishments for our community. Tony serves on the board of directors for the AIDS Assistance Program Food Samaritans, the Palm Springs Hospitality Association, and is co-producer along with Palm Springs Life magazine of the Palm Desert Food and Wine Festival. So if you want your way into anyone's heart or stomach, just call Tony. I'm sure he doesn't sleep because he is always thinking of ways to support and give back to our community. And it's no surprise that Tony, for the last few years, has been in the top 3 revenue producers for Dining Out for Life, which benefits the Desert AIDS Project. Tony is certainly recognized for his community service and the vital role that he plays in raising funds for so many different nonprofits around the Palm Springs community. So Tony, on behalf of the commission, we really thank you for sharing your heart and your voice and your efforts around here, because we couldn't do this without you. So on behalf of the commission, please join me in recognizing Tony Marchese. Okay.
Next up, we've got Commissioner Gross. You all notice how fast Tony ran away from the microphone, didn't you?
At least he can still run. Oh, this is easier. Okay. Well, in order to introduce our next recipient, I'm going to have to ask you to please take a willing suspension of belief. Everybody ready? I could do a whole rundown, I suppose, on Gloria Kapp. I think the most interesting thing about Gloria, at least to me, I hope to her, we go back 40 years. Can you believe that? And yes, it was in kindergarten, yes, across a crowded sandbox. There was Gloria, and we thought we had to build sandcastles together. That's not really true, but I like the idea. But what is really true and what I could do, but we just don't have the time. Sorry to disappoint you, but I have stories I could tell. We started in higher education together. We started our careers pretty much at the same time. And we wound up working in the same student services areas, college unions. You remember the ACUI, Gloria? Oh, those were our glory years when we were young and vital and all of that. Again, I could go on and on. But we're here to talk about what Gloria has offered and still offers this city, and particularly the youth in our city and across the valley and across the deserts. Let's see. Over the past 5 years, she and I have been active in Safe Schools Desert Cities. Maybe a number of you know that. And Gloria's role has been to offer coaching and support to kids forming high school and junior college gay and straight alliances. In fact, all of Safe Schools does that. And Ron is the chair of that fine organization as well, and I've certainly enjoyed making contributions there myself. And so we reconnected there. And it's been a wonderful kind of reunion over the last few years because Gloria and I kind of rediscovered ourselves a few years ago. So anyway, what the specifics I want to offer you about Gloria's contributions. She is vice chair of Safe Schools these days, and what she has done and what this award is about today, because we are focusing on what's being delivered today, is leading the administration of the Safe Schools Burton May Awards. And these awards are offered to kids primarily from gay and straight alliances who are seeking either higher education or other forms of education to advance their careers. It's not just academic, it covers the full realm. And one of the things through Gloria's work we've discovered are all of these tripwires that get between things like the big awards, the scholarships and all of that, and things like application fees and books and all of this. What Gloria has done is devised a program given her student aid background. She is the former director of student aid at California, I got it wrong the first time, California State University, Long Beach. I used to know it as Long Beach State back in our 40 years. And there's something very specific about that. This is not, if all Gloria was offering was excellent administrative services, that would be worth something. But what I have observed with Gloria, I may get a little emotional here, because I was former treasurer and she and I worked on a lot of these together, is that as we review applications, I still review applications, and it's one of the favorite things I do every year for the scholarship awards. If there was something that's a little off with the application, or if even after an award has been made, we find somebody who's struggling a little bit in fulfilling their education dreams, Gloria's on the spot. Gloria's on the phone. She's the one working individually with these kids, not just to make sure that things are processed well, but that they are able to fully express their potential and offer the awards based upon the full potential and not just, if you will, the transcript story. So I could go on. I think I've done it. Gloria, why don't you start on up here? And folks, please join me and the entire Palm Springs Human Rights Commission in congratulating Gloria on her award and the many positive difference she has made for her students.
Thank you, and thank you very much to the Human Rights Commission and to the City Council and Mayor of Palm Springs for the many things they continue to do to assure that human rights are both supported and guaranteed in our fine city. I must say that these kinds of awards find me both flattered and humbled. I'm flattered to be included with a group of 6 very outstanding community service activists. But I'm also humbled by what we do and what all of you do that makes it possible to continue all of our work in community service. I'd like to share with you one of my favorite quotes from the poet Adrienne Rich, which is something I think of when awards come up. And she said, "My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world." That's a rather lofty statement, but I take from it 2 things that I think are important to remember when we receive awards. The first is, we mainly do small things. Sometimes they become big things because we do the same small thing over and over, or because we weave small things into a bigger thing. And the second thing is, we don't accomplish any of this alone. We have committees, boards, and volunteers. In my case, there are GSA advisors and students. And in addition to that, many friends, a lot of whom are here today, and I am pleased to see all of you, friends from Four Seasons, friends from the Unitarian Universalist Church in Rancho Mirage, where I'm part of the Social Justice Committee, and lots of other friends. It's important to have friends on your side when you're doing community service. I particularly want to thank my wife, Joan Elliott, for her support, her love, and her occasional nudge back to reality when I get a little too involved. Thank you to the Human Rights Commission of Palm Springs for this award. I accept the award because it inspires me to continue doing what I've been doing and to do more, and I hope it inspires you as well. Thank you.
And next we have Commissioner Sandra Sina.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored to give this award, one being a minority in this community and also being a mental health social worker working in the front lines in our community. This award is going to the California Voters' Rights Act Working Group. On April 19, 2018, the Palm Springs City Council adopted a resolution number 24406 declaring its intent to transition into a district-based election. The city conducted a series of public hearings and community engagement forums over 6 months to receive community input on the composition of proposed electoral districts for the city council seats. The neighborhood meetings provided Palm Springs residents and the stakeholders the opportunity to participate and provide feedback in the redistricting process. It was the city's desire to ensure that the proposed district reflected prevalent communities of interest and that the citizens be engaged in the process. Towards that end, a dedicated group of 8 community volunteers were charged with helping to engage historically disfranchised and underrepresented communities of color into the city council district processing. The group of volunteers have dedicated over 700 hours to evaluate the voices of residents. The California Voting Rights Act Community Working Group consisted of 8 community volunteers: Artaf Dada, Ed Dobie, Grace Gardner, Dixie Miller, Stephanie Moses, and co-chair Alexis Ortega, Kathy Wimak, and Tibas Wolf. Join me in acknowledging their work as they advance equality, diversity, inclusion in this city.
Hi. Thank you to the Human Rights Commission and to the City Council. This effort was really about racial justice and the encouragement of the communities of color, our Latino, Black, Asian communities, millennials, young people, women, to participate in our political process. And we're not done. We also provided the city with a wide range of suggestions to encourage wider participation in city government and encourage people to run. The city had some really terrific goals when this came on. One was to do the process of going to districts not as a response to a lawsuit, but as an effort to fully meet the goals of the California Voting Rights Act and the U.S. Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts. One of the goals was to see if we could create legitimately within communities of interest a majority-minority district where it could be possible for a person of color to run and win a seat on city council. The other goals included not separating the organized neighborhoods in the city. Those goals were met through a really great process that included the Black, Latino, and Filipino communities in our city in determining what the districts would look like. And everybody on this commission did a terrific job, as well as the City Council. Thank you so much.
Hi, just a little background. I'm so thrilled to be able to tell you. I wrote this song back in 1991. I released an album in 1992. I had the overwhelming honor of being invited to perform this in front of 1.2 million people at the 1993 National March on Washington for Gay and Lesbian Civil Rights. And the best honor of all is to know that this song now has a life of its own. It's become so much bigger than me. And it's all about, it has nothing to do with gay or lesbian. It has everything to do with, if you believe in civil rights, if you believe in human rights, if you believe in dignity for everyone, then you're one of us. She works in a bank, and she runs their computers. She has held this job for years. She is loved and respected by her peers. She is strong, she is proud. Hear her voice cry out loud as she stands up tall and proclaims to them all that she is one of us. He drives a truck, and he loves the open highway. He to the endless miles, he keeps time to the country music playing in his mind. He is strong, he is proud. Hear his voice cry out loud as he stands and proclaims to them all that he is one of us. We are doctors, we are soldiers, we are athletes and artists. We encompass every color, every kind. So don't kid yourself into thinking that you are all alone. We are everywhere, and loneliness is only in your mind. Now, I try to sing about things I believe in, so I hope you like my song. And if you believe, won't you sing along? I am strong, I am proud. Hear my voice cry out loud as I stand up tall and proclaim to them all that I am one of us. And I'm proud. Hear my voice cry out loud as I stand up tall and proclaim to them all that I am one of us. And I am proud. Hear my voice out loud as I stand up tall and proclaim to them all that I am one of us. Oh yeah, I am one of us. And I'm proud to say I am one of us.
I've got a collection of awards up here, so don't leave without your award, okay? Everybody who didn't get yours. Thank you, Ted, and thank you, Roger. We really appreciate your participation, and this is the second year that Ted has been with us, so we really appreciate you giving your time to make this an even more special presentation. So as the 4 o'clock hour draws near and the song is completed, We're getting close to the end of our program. Human rights advocacy is not for the faint-hearted, but I urge all of you to speak up. In an age of so-called reimagined truth, it's more important than ever that we counter the distortion of facts and the abuse of rights, the spin in the media and in politics, by presenting the evidence and standing up for the rule of law. Human rights are not the domain of the left or the right politics. They're there to protect the most vulnerable in our communities, to equalize the imbalances between the powerful and the powerless, and to advance fairness and equality for all of us. In these days, we need to reach back to those that we've left behind to ensure that they have a voice and that they are integrated into all that our society can offer. Every person, no matter their background, has dignity and value. Everyone has human rights, and those rights must be protected. Let's understand that the rule of law and the maintenance of human rights are connected, and that about 57% of the world's population live outside of the protection of the rule of law. That's 4 billion people struggling for basic human rights on a daily basis. We can do better. Fundamental human rights not only evolve through common law, they reflect community standards, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and equality of all before the law. Finally, as we work to ensure fundamental rights are realized for all, let us in Palm Springs respect and rely on the common sense and the goodwill of those who live here, because change happens when we all work together. On behalf of the Human Rights Commission, our gratitude and thanks to all the honorees who are contributing to advancing human rights in their own way. And thank you all for joining us and supporting the honorees. We conclude by saying what a privilege it's been for myself and all of the commissioners to serve the city and our community. And we close with special thanks to Dale and Annie for their service to the commission throughout the year. Thank you all for being with us. We'll see you at the 27th anniversary of the Human Rights Commission. And for the honorees now, we can do some photographs, individual photographs, if you'd like to come up. And we've got the commissioners that will stand by and city council before they head out. And I got a couple of awards here.